Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friend Preston Poulter's book, Palace of the Golden Princess, which offers a fun, sexy romp through a fantasy RPG setting run by women. Issue 3 is actually on Kickstarter right now, and right now you can actually go to pocketjackcomics.com and sign up for Preston's email, and he will happily send you a free PDF of issue 1 so you can try it before you buy it. And I will say this, that he has some serious cool covers, a bunch of them done by Whiskey Paint, who is this just fantastic artist. So definitely something to check out if you're into that type of stuff, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, before anybody gets any bad ideas, books type stuff. So yeah, but anyway, enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Steve Streetman. So welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody? And what's up to you, Andrew? And is that a so I need to know the story about the cheetah in the background. It's looking at me with judging eyes. What's going on? Is that purposely so that it's like just in case I'm enjoying what you're saying? The cheetah's not. Is that what's going on here?
I don't know. My dad is a photographer as a hobby, and he takes trips down to Africa.
He took that.
He took that down in Africa maybe 2-3 years ago. And so
Okay.
with the camera, he shoots with the camera. I just want to make that crystal clear. Like photography. And he goes on.
Oh, as opposed with a gun. I'm like, what else are we shooting with?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people hear the word shoot an animal and
he shoots the cheetah after he takes the photo. It was great though. We got a good photo first. Look at this. Jeez.
Yeah,
all right, I see how we're starting here. We're animal brutality. We're off to a good start here on the show. 2 minutes in, let's go.
It's great. It's crazy. So he goes to Kenya, and if you kill lions and animals in Kenya, like those rangers and the monster warriors will just kill you on the spot. It is insane. There is no. That is the definition of justice.
Out in the animals' land, right? It's the animals' land.
Because it's what Kenya and all these countries in Africa are known for, is that tourism for safaris brings in huge amounts of money. And so if you damage, it's different if the animal is killing your buffalo, right? So if a lion is charging you and it's eating 15 of your buffalo, it's a little bit different than if you just go out and say, I'm going to go
14, you're still getting shot, but 15 buffalo, they're like, all right, fine,
But it's super fascinating, but they're very protective of it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. That's not what we're here to talk about.
I don't know. We're doing a Nat Geo show here instead. Let's get. You're teaching me about Kenya. We're talking about cheetahs. All right, I like it.
I mean, you're the first person who's asked this about that whole.
No one's asked about the judgmental cheetah. So anyone who hasn't mentioned that means that they have just, they didn't want to feel judged about it. Me, I'm clearly, it's looking at me. It's giving me the eye. I want to know what's going on. So
But I digress on judgmental cheetahs. I am not the expert on this, but I do want to talk about you and your book and your universe, because you have a lot going on, and you have created the Flawless universe. And what is that exactly? Because some people probably know it in a bunch of places where this is going to be streaming to and be placed into, and a bunch of people are probably going to say, hey, what the hell is that universe? And what is this whole thing that you created? Because it's really, really interesting what you've created. And I love the concept of it, both on a...
Okay, it's hot freaking chicks. Okay, what's not to love, So, but I wanted to take something with... So here's the thing about my story that I wrote is... All right, so I've been writing for years. I was writing back when I was young. And I remember there's a story whenever I was in high school, okay? We had to write every single day. And the teacher said, you can write about whatever you want, okay? And I still remember this story so vividly. I can tell you pieces of the story because that I wrote, the story that I wrote back then, because after I wrote it, I didn't think the teacher actually wrote it. I read them. I thought that they would just check. Okay, there's words on that paper. And the next thing I know, I'm getting called into the principal's office. Okay. So so they brought me up there. They said, you can't write stuff like this. You're too young for this, whatever. And they said, and the reason I remember it so vividly, because first the teacher made me read it, and she was like, do you see anything wrong with this? And then I'm in the principal's office. They're like, look at it. And I was like, do you see anything wrong with this? And so it's like, I had to read it like multiple times. I just kept looking at it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And so, no. So they're like, we're going to kick you off the wrestling team if we see anything else like this. And I was like, and so here's the thing. Stephen King, M. Night Shyamalan, they get praised for writing things like this. Me, I'm going to get kicked off the wrestling team for doing it. I was writing, crazy stories way back then, and this has finally been my opportunity to pull the trigger and get it out to the public. So here we are. It's the Flawless Universe, and my teacher definitely wouldn't approve of it. So there you go.
Let's actually talk about this, because I know there's a preview book, and then I think that this is the first story, if I'm not mistaken, which is on Kickstarter. And I think it's really interesting. I actually like the idea of doing a preview book before you go to Kickstarter. Have a little sample of a little bit of everything, kind of introduce a bunch of characters in there, introduce what you're going to do, and then get really specific per Kickstarter and telling stories. Because I think it's nice, because you get to tap a lot of different markets. You get to experiment. You get to see reactions. And I think it's almost, samplers are good, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, you're a professional in the business. Let me ask you the question.
I'm not a professional at all, but thank you. I'll take the compliment.
I think if you look up the definition, anything that makes money to do something is a pro. That doesn't mean you're good at it. You've made a couple bucks. Okay, so good job. No. But really though, answer me this though, because what I decided to do, you might say is stupid, and you might say you love it. Okay, so let's decide here. In the preview book, I didn't just give you a preview of issue 1. It wasn't just a few pages of issue 1. What I did in the preview book is I planned out 32 issues of the comic before releasing the preview. So inside the preview, you get panels from issue 1, from issue 7, from issue 12, from issue 24, all the way to 35, when you're like, who the fuck is this character?
See, you're touching on something. I don't know if you know the show RWBY Ruby. It's an anime.
I know of it. I've not seen it though, but yeah.
So what's interesting is that they had 4 trailers for the 4 main women characters. So obviously they're all different colors. Obviously you have Ruby is R, Weiss is white, Blake is black, and Yang is yellow. And so in issue 3 and issue 4, some of the trailer stuff in Blake happened in volume 3 or season 3. So you're kind of like saying, why is this train scene happening? And what is this relationship with this guy that Blake has? And, nobody really thought anything of it until volume 3 came out, and volume 4 and volume 5 came out. And I think it's really interesting to start dropping some of that, because what I thought is like, this trailer's sweet. It's 3 minutes. I'm watching the show anyway.
That's what I wanted, was a trailer. Like, I wanted a trailer for my preview. I didn't just want it to be, here's the first 6 pages of issues 1. That's literally, it's a trailer for the Flawless Universe. If you're interested after reading the preview, then you're going to enjoy them. You'll enjoy the story. You'll enjoy the books. And so, like, that's what I did. I was like, here's your opportunity. You decide.
Because this is where I think you are different than everybody else, or a lot of people, is that there's a difference between people saying, I am planning going issue by issue by issue, right? Versus saying, I'm going to be in this for life. So right now with this podcast and a bunch of other stuff, and even in my eBay business, I am planning to be in this for life. So I am making decisions looking at this 2, 3, 5 years from now. Right now, and I'll say something very open, where on my YouTube channel, I'm not so concerned about views. I'm concerned about getting a lot of content out first and foremost, and building out a huge library where
Yeah, yeah, you brought me on, so that we clearly knew that. You're just like, I need someone this week. This guy here. He's got a Greg Bow cover. Yeah, he'll work. Let's bring him.
No. I don't choose people I want to interview. I only choose people who I want to interview. Nobody gets to come on my show.
This Mike dude, get over here.
Somebody just asked me on my show, and I didn't want them on my show, and I'm not happy with them, so they're not coming on. And then there's other people who happily, she just asked, I'm like, yeah, anytime you want to come on, I like you as a person. So my point, though, is that I think it's very interesting because if you put out a preview book, you are making a decision saying, hey, I want to be in this space for a while or at least attempt.
Yeah, I knew I had to bring something different. A lot of people are trying to put out their own book and, but I wanted to bring out something that's a true story. A lot of people that I know, including myself, like the reason I'm in the comic books industry, because I love comic book covers. Ask me how many comic books I read. Not nearly as many as I collect, because I was like, this cover looks good. Like, yeah, I want that one up on the wall. So let's get that one. Like, that was what I was doing. And then I was like, and then, I got to talking to other people in the space, and I'm like, hey, have you read this one? Like, I read Miss Meow one day. I was like, all right, that's a good story, and I was like, are y'all reading these books? And everybody I talked to was like, I don't know what this story's about. They're like, anything I asked them about, it was very rare that they actually knew the characters and what they were about.
It's funny you bring that up. So COVID happened, right? And all these COVID happened, and then
yeah, yes, I was there. That's why I don't have my 6-pack anymore.
So what happened is that Zenescope transitioned from doing a lot of live events in person to doing virtual cons, and they haven't left that space, which I think is the smartest thing they've ever done, is doing a virtual con every single month because they can reach so many people across so many sectors combined with live events. If you're not doing a virtual con and you're a big company, you're leaving money on the table. But anyway, what happened is that they would do trivia about their books, and nobody knew these questions because a bunch of people.
Were there bigger awards for this? Because that would be a way to entice people to read it.
Some awards were pretty big.
Here's a metal book, if you could tell me,
So what was going on is that it was kind of crazy because here we are in a position where. And the only reason why I got back into reading Zenescope is because I was getting free digital copies to review for my website at the time.
Okay.
From like a book review company. Yeah, I'll read a free graphic novel and I'll write a review on it.
I've actually read quite a few of the Zenescope, so I understand.
So I was happy that company wanted me to review it. I said, oh, they're never going to want me to touch their stuff. And they're like, yeah, dude, you want to read this book? And then a bunch of other stuff happened, and I started working with some really cool companies that were sending me real physical books, really cool stuff. I got to work with the Navy Press Institute, which is a military graphic novel organization. Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. When they send you free copies of books, it's really, really cool. But anyway, not the point, but that's something that's super interesting is that, I'm guilty of this too, where a bunch of books I don't even read. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm like, that cover is awesome. I need to buy it. If I don't buy this cover, I'm going to cry.
Well, think about why you bought the cover, whether it was cool art or a sexy chick, or whatever, or somewhere in between or something different, whatever, maybe it's a hot dude. Maybe that's why you wanted it. But either way, but
you can't tell these secrets.
You're like, I love that Death Rage cover where he's got his mask covering his junk, and that's it. That's the only thing he's wearing. That's the one, no. So a lot of us are collecting them because they've got these cute pinup girls, right? Here we go. I wanted to give them that inside the book. That's one of the reasons too. I spent a lot of time searching for my interior artist to make sure that the person who was drawing these sexy stories that I'm writing would make sure that their faces, their bodies, everything inside the book looked equally as sexy as what was on the outside. And so, and I found them. They're great. They're based out of Japan, phenomenal artists. And he and I just blend so well together. So.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that because this is a big problem in comics is that you go to a company, they put a sexy girl on the cover, a sexy thing on the cover, girl in a swimsuit. It's awesome. Everybody's happy. But then the book.
I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
And the book has nothing to do with it, right?
Okay. Yeah. Or if it's the same sexy bikini girl on the inside for like her. They're like doing like this. Like, why is there like why you couldn't
Oh,
like?
I mean, I haven't seen that in a while. I see a lot of stuff where somebody
I opened
puts,
one recently by a big company, and I was like, why couldn't they just like spend a few more minutes on that face? You know, like.
but like my whole thing is that like
If it
so.
looks uglier than my face, then it shouldn't be there. Okay, that's the rule of thumb, and like that's not hard to do. Like if it's a bearded chick, it's bad. Like okay, that's
Unless
clearly.
it's supposed to be a bearded chick,
Hey, there we
then it's
go.
good.
Bearded circus girl cosplay cover coming up. Okay,
I'm an equal offender. I'm an equal offender, and I discriminate equally against everybody. Um,
yes.
I
So
hate
does the
all.
cheetah too, just in case anyone was wondering.
No, because a lot of times what I feel is in comics is that people want to sell their book, and so they'll put a sexy girl on the cover,
Yeah.
and then the book is just a normal thing. So it's like it's kind of like we'll use Batman as an example, where if all of a sudden you put Catwoman in a bikini, in a very skimpy bikini, you don't think that book's not going to sell. I mean, they do it all the time. What is it?
Yeah.
The famous Adam Hughes, where it's I forget who was on the thing, but she's holding like the license plate up or the prison thing up.
Oh yeah, yeah. That one's
And then
massive.
they did that with Harley Quinn, and that was a variant, and it sold a lot. But
Right.
the book has nothing to do with that cover. And I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything wrong with that. But a lot of times on Kickstarters, a lot of times with all these store variants, that becomes a problem because I'm glad that we have a sexy cover. But I'm a huge Gun Honey fan. I love Gun Honey. I love their covers. But Warren Lau's art, I think it's Warren Lau did this stuff, and Will Jack does stuff for them too.
Right.
Love both of their covers.
Yeah.
That's not the art in the interior, and it's a real problem. And it can be a misrepresentation in a lot of
Is
ways.
it not? See, because that's when I haven't opened, and I would think if a chick's covered in honey, I'm gonna be seeing some sexiness. But
I mean, it's a sexy book. I mean,
uh-huh.
but Warren Lau does such a great cover that you look at a Warren Lau cover, and there's a reason
Yeah.
why they trade for $150 on eBay
Yeah.
because they sell
Right.
quickly and they're
Right.
wanted.
Yeah. I had the Wonder Woman, the black and gold Wonder Woman. That was one of the very first books that I got, and I just gotten it out of a mystery box, and they're like, oh, they even tried to buy it back from me after I opened it up, and I was like, I'm gonna hang on to this one. That sucker was beautiful, and it had the value. The value went up because it was, and so
Because that's my thing. So what is that like to have your covers reflect what's actually in the inside? Because it is something that is rarer now.
yeah,
And
and
it's
so
not, it's
we have two different things happening with the covers. And then we also have something happening on the inside as well. So I kind of break down like all the different pieces to it. Let's put my tie up for this one. I feel like I just went like into the business mode or something. All right. So on the inside of the cover, so for an example, so Rob Gutero, my interior artist, he did one panel that was so beautiful that I actually like I reached out to him and I said, hey, can we pull the words and the word bubble out of this one and you expand it and we can use it for a cover? Like that's how good it was. And so he's like, yeah. So we whipped it, we changed it up and to where it would fit for a cover, and that we used it. And it was actually a secret cover on the Kickstarter. I don't know if you got if you were there for those 3 days to see it, because it went so quick. It was on and then off. It did so well in just such a short period of time. I actually didn't realize that until the end. I was like, all right, how many of these am I printing? And I was like, oh wow, this one did insanely well for the fact that it was only there for 3 days before we hit it, because it is very graphic. It's a very graphic. It's our most graphic cover. Let's put it that way. But that's what happens on the inside of the book. It gets graphic. So sexy scenes happening.
yeah. See, it's interesting because I don't view your book as a not safe for work themed book. I just view that the sexiness is there. Does that make any sense? So there's people right now in the industry who are doing not safe for work books. So,
Uh-huh.
so I don't know if you know. I always get the guy's name wrong. Shoot, I can't. But he did Sunstone. Sunstone
Okay.
is about swingers, and it's obviously a people want to read about Sunstone.
I wouldn't read some of my issues at work. Okay, let's put it that way. Some of the because so think about compare mine to say HBO. Okay, if it's Californication or Sex
Yeah.
and the City or whatever, if it makes sense to have a sex scene to tell the story, there's going to be a sex scene.
This is where I'm going, is that this is a lacking area in comics. And so what is happening with a bunch of people is that they're doing not safe for work comics, and they're purposely making it not safe for work versus having sex in a book.
But it's
because
not it's not part of this. It's not a story to it.
I mean, there's a story to it, but obviously the main driver is it being not safe for work.
Right.
So, like, for instance, Tales in a Strip Club. The main driver of somebody did a comic called Tales in a Strip Club is you're documenting a bunch of workers in a strip club, and it's gonna be a sexy book.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my fears with this
book.
Or
an adult book might be a better way to put it. But sorry, continue.
So one of one of my fears with this book is because one of our most graphic books, and I mean from like a sex scene standpoint, is issue 1. As you go through into other issues, sometimes it doesn't happen at all. And there's probably no time that it happens more, but an issue. But I needed to tell the story of Amber Moon right here. I needed to tell the story of Amber Moon, and that's a big part of her story. When we go to the Smoke series, where she has her individual series on her own, that's gonna be the one that's very graphic. But when you go to you go to read The Duchess or Cherry Blossom or Diamond or Paramore, any of the other of the Flawless Five. So there's the Flawless Five girls, by the way. They're all coming up. They were all in issue 1, but it was focused on Amber Moon. You go and read their stories, you're not going to get something like that. So think of like the Duchess as more of a graphic, like Desperate House. If Desperate Housewives went to HBO, okay, that's now your issue 2, okay, and then issue 3 is like a buddy story. It's about Jenna and Lily, where Lily's getting all the attention of the boys, and Jenna's not. Without going any further with that, but there's those two, and they have their little story. So. But there's a clear storyline with it. And what I was saying about the interiors earlier is that that we have 2 different things going on the outside of the covers as well. So we do a cosplay cover index. It's a cosplay collector's index, to where it's almost like collecting Pokemon cards. And that's where we do like the Rogue Gregbo or some of the other covers. And then we have our other line of covers, which is our storyline covers, to where when you see these, this is what you're getting on the inside of the book.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that, because this is what's interesting. And I mean, obviously, we were speaking about Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus references everything. They reference everything, and look, there's money to be made. And I'm guilty of doing it because I understand that people like certain things. There's covers that they're referencing. I think they just did something with Scarlet of G.I. Joe. Today, they just released the book. And so obviously, if you're a G.I. Joe fan, you might not necessarily be a huge Mount Olympus fan, but you say, look, I love things that reference G.I. Joe. Or conversely, they did a Rogue, cover. And you might say, look, I love the X-Men and I love female X-Men, and I need to have that because I'm a comic collector. And, I think there's some there. And you've done a bunch of stuff. And we're going to talk about some of them because I like some of them. But also, I do think, and also there is a business for that. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with paying tribute, homage to things, and paying respect and referencing things, and people want that stuff. And then
it's massive. It's massive. My hope is that one day my girls on the covers are wanted as much as the cosplay covers on there. The cosplay covers is fan service. It allows for people to get those, like, for instance, we do a lot of anime characters and gamer girl characters that you don't see on many comic book covers. We bring those in because You don't see them everywhere. And I'm like, that's a cute character. Let's use them. You know, we work with artists. We make it happen.
Do you also feel that, because this is where we're gonna get really technical, is that I was speaking to my mom. My mom's not a big fan of this
We're
bear.
getting technical. I got to switch from Perrier to a beer. Okay. I'm just saying, like, what, let's go. Give me the spice. What's up?
No. So what I was explaining to my mom is, say, look, if you could find me another comparable thing that I could sell and making the same amount of money, I would switch in a heartbeat.
And you're talking about like the cosplay covers versus something different.
And the Bear Girl art and everything.
Because she's like, what? She's like, it's Andrew, little Drew. Can you sell something different? Are we doing this right? And she brings she brings out the judgmental cheetah, and she's like,
yes,
he's looking at you. Okay, it's like the god of your house.
And then I show her my eBay account, and then she doesn't have an answer, and then there we go.
She's like, you're like, but my bank account, Mom. You know, I'm successful.
I'll be honest. There are lines I won't cross. So I am not a fan of full nudity. I'm not a fan of full nudity on a comic cover. It's just not my jam. I find it weird. I actually really enjoy sexy covers that leave a little bit to the imagination.
Women's bodies are art. Okay. I mean, look at the two of us. Nobody wants us on a cover.
I'm not saying we put me on a cover, but what I'm saying is that.
But women are art. They're shapes, their beauty. People like to look at them. Okay. Guys do stuff. Girls look good. You know, like it's like two different things. Like nobody wants your hairy arm on the next Mount Olympus book, but you know, they might want some chick up the road, you know, the girl next door or whatever on the next one. You know, that's just how the world works. It's, you know, women's beauty is very valuable.
It's interesting too, because I don't know if you have statistics, but from my understanding, speaking to people in the industry, a lot of women are into this too, where there's a bunch of women who love these covers just as much as men.
I don't know how many Google searches you did of me. Hopefully not too many. Yeah, you probably were like, had to take some time off and, you know, close the laptop after that. I'm like, whoa, finding some of my old stuff. Okay. Heyo. But no, don't Google me, guys. They're gonna be like, what is this video? Click. No. But the thing about it is
I didn't Google you at all. I went through Instagram. I went through the Kickstarter.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's the stuff I put out. Of myself. Whatnot is where I'm live on Whatnot multiple times per week, and there is there's a great audience on there that, you know, and they come to see my brand. They come to see some of a lot of the other publishers as well, a lot of the other artists as well. But that's been a great opportunity for me there. And it's all visual. So whenever I'm putting things up, they like the girl covers. That, you know, that's what they go for, obviously, in most cases. And one of the things about our room is we hold so many girls in there. Because they're commenting. I don't know if you know anything about Whatnot, but they, you know, everybody in the audience can, you know, they can type on their phone. They're like, hey, oh yeah, that one's so cute, whatever. Flame, you know, whatever. My room's filled with girls. They love the covers. Girls think girls are art. Men think girls are art. So I think we're all in agreement with that. So
I have a client and she buys a lot of Mount Olympus stuff. And she's a great client, and she knows that I'm always going to get her loan numbers. And I don't know anything about her, but I know that, I don't know, maybe she's buying it for herself. Maybe she's buying it for her boyfriend. I don't know, because I've never asked her that, but she comes up as a female on eBay. And it's just like one of those things where, and it's not the first time that I've sold a sexy book to a woman. And I'm like, cool. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. I'm like, but
and to go on record, in case you've asked or not asked, they're not lesbians. I mean, some of them might be, but it wouldn't matter. But I could tell. I'm gonna tell this story, and then everybody's gonna be like, wait, maybe he should check with his wife right now and see where she's at. But I was gonna say my wife collects these covers as well. They're like, does he not know? No, no. We have lots of sex. It's good. I promise. No, but she collects tons of these covers. She loves those. She thinks they're beautiful. She's like, oh, this is a good one. She'll check out an Elias, and she's like, this is a great cover. I want to get it. But I think there's more to it.
No, because I just find it interesting where I think that it's also been destigmatized in a lot of ways. I think that
Destigmatized. Like it's okay now.
yeah. I don't know if I've used the right verbiage. It's been a long day.
No, it's cool. I like making up words. Let's do it. We'll keep
I
going.
mean, it's been granted and it's been, I guess, less criticized or less giving you like that gleeful look, like you're looking at smut, right?
Yeah.
You know, where there was the Top Cow stuff, and then it disappeared, I think, for like 7 or 8 years. Then companies like Zenoscope started popping up, and then a bunch of other companies I felt sort of popped up. And now, fast forward to 2023, everybody's doing this. And so now it's norm in comics.
Well, yeah. Oh, think about Cherry Pop Tart though, or she, that story.
She was on.
She's wanking dolphins on the, in the book. So
I mean, think about Mandy, Dean Yeagle, and Playboy. I mean, Dean Yeagle was on to this show. I love Larry. Larry's great.
So I mean, those stories are there, but what the cool thing is about that is that the story is in there too. So,
Cherry, without a doubt, freedom of speech would not be here without 2 people in comics. There are only 2 people who deserve all the credit for freedom of speech in comics: Larry Welts and Dennis Kitchen. Those 2.
Yeah.
For those, Larry Welts does Cherry Pop Tart, and Dennis Kitchen is the man responsible for the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund.
Nice.
So I've had Dennis Kitchen for an interview. I've obviously interviewed Larry Welts.
Oh wow,
great individual. Cool. But my point is that without those 2 individuals, we would not have anything remotely close to what we have in comics right now.
Yeah, well, they were really in to push the limits, and that's one of the things too that I've actually had conversations with other publishers too, and they'll say like, I don't put sex in my comic books, and they're like, because then I'll never get in the comic book store. And it's funny because one of the ones I was talking to, I was like, you're not in a comic book store anyways. I was like, so, if it makes sense to the story, and I will always like, I need a t-shirt that says that. I've got my stupid little monkey shirt here. You can't see it. That if it makes sense for the story, then it's going in there. So, and that's like one of the biggest things. And we reflect that on our covers. So, because we want to give you what's on the inside. So sometimes you've got topless covers. Sometimes you have full nude covers. We have gone full nude. We usually keep them print runs to 5. So those are for like those collectors. We're like, hey, here's yours, and then we get to the other cover. So we have all that. We've got, but it matches what goes on the inside too, which is the story.
Let's actually talk about this because you do print runs interestingly. In my opinion, at the very least, where you do a bunch of different versions of it. So I know you offer a paper. I know you offer a hollow foil. I think you offer a metal. And then I think you offer sometimes, a lingerie version, a regular version, a topless version. I don't know if you have full frontal nudity or if that's the topless version. And also it depends on the character. Some characters, I think it's just one-off of just a normal cover. Where it doesn't make sense to do nudity on a certain book sometimes. Where, just certain characters just don't make sense for it, and then others do. But anyway,
was that a plug for me? Or are you wanting to know because if it was cool, keep going. No. Or are you wanting the method to the madness? Because
no, I think it's smart because Mount Olympus does medals, right? And they limit them to like 15 sometimes. Or like they'll do like an ultra rare. So I just picked up a medal that came with an ultra rare, and it's limited to 15, and the ultra rare is limited to 15. And I think it's really, really cool because I love exclusivity. So let's say I just absolutely adore a cover, right? And I like to know that there's only 15 of them in the world. I
Mm.
like to know that there's only 5. Like, I bought stuff from Jim Noble, and there's only 5 of them in the world. And I'm like, I have 1 out of 5, and now we are in a club. This is a very exclusive club.
Right.
There's only 4 other people who have this book. I'm a big baseball card collector, and I have
Yeah.
limited 50 baseball cards. I have
So
limited
you
10.
collect baseball cards, but do you collect Pokemon?
I have Pokemon graded cards.
Are those Squirtles on your shirt right there? Is that what I'm looking at?
This is the only Turtle Squad that matters.
The Squirtle Turtles? Is that what
It's the Squirtle Squad.
Is this Squirtle cosplay on your shirt? Is this like a made up version of the Squirtle verse?
So Waze t-shirt company does this, and they're not a sponsor of this show. I wish they were. I would, if they just sent me free t-shirts every 2 months, they would be like, man, that's it for free, because their shirts are dope.
So the reason I say that is because we actually do our comic books similar to the way that Pokemon cards would be. So we've got different levels. So we've got uncommon, we've got rare, we've got legendary, we've got mystical, then it goes silver, gold, diamond, which is my favorite because it's also the name of one of my superhero characters. Then we have elite, flawless, and do you know what the number 1 is?
I don't.
No? Okay, cool. You're like, did you get that deep? The supreme deity is the 1 of 1. We have those as well. So it's like, so it's different layers, and it depends on what the character is, and how many variants there are going to be, because I try to keep low quantities of these. I like the exclusivity to these, and so
because 150 is not a lot of a book.
No, and I found that out. I'm finding that out the hard way, because I'm selling through them so fast that I'm like, okay, that's my high. That's my high number is uncommon 150.
Because the reason why I bring this up is that there's a lot of stuff. So obviously, everybody my favorite thing about comics, I don't know about you, and even as an investor and as a seller, is that I like that you could play at a $20 level, you could play at a $50 level, you could play at a $100 level, or you could play at a $30,000 level if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with baseball cards, where you could play at a $10 level, or you could play at a $45,000 level if you wanted to.
Right.
And you could play at a $100 level. I bought baseball cards for $35. The point is that there's an option for everybody to play. So I think everybody can afford, if they wanted to, a $30 comic. Let's say that you have a One Piece variation, and I'm a huge One Piece fan. Let's say that I couldn't afford the $100 medal or $120 medal, but I could afford it.
Tune in at the end of October for One Piece cosplay night.
But you get where I'm going, where I can afford a $30 book. Yeah. And this is where I think that's what's interesting about having different print quantities, and also saying, look, maybe somebody doesn't have $120, but they have an extra $35 around, or an extra $40 around, or $45.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between $100 and $30.
Yeah. And I have different, and I'm on my lives. I have different, it's like, all right, here's the $120 comic. And I have, a certain group of fans that are bidding on that one. And then I put up the comic for $30, and I have a different group of fans that are bidding on that one. So it's, sometimes you get some overlap, but yeah, it does allow entry to everyone. And when we run our auctions, we actually try to run our books for less on the auction, so there's still even more room to get in. So,
that's why I think it's interesting what you do, in which that, I mean, I think a low print run, obviously Mount Olympus, they do 65 limited runs for $20 a book.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zenoscope does like a 400 print run for $20. Obviously a 150 lower than that. Obviously I don't think 30's out of the norm. If it's a variant, if this was your cover A, that'd be a little expensive. But if you're doing retail, straight out cover A.
And just to give the story, we have some, but our limited to 5s are like they sell out right away, and these are the ones that typically start at $50. They usually start at between 50 to 120, and they're gone. They're gone, and they're out in the universe. Hopefully somebody's enjoying them in their PC, up in their bedroom wall or next to their bedroom on their nightstand, cuddle. Oh, the flawless universe. All right, good night.
Because isn't it also the idea that for the most part, the limited fives don't come out into the universe all that often. They're usually kept in collections because this is my experience of selling books that are limited to 15, limited to 5, limited to 20.
You don't
Is that
see them yet.
those books just don't come up.
You don't
And
see
then
them
when they do come up,
Yeah.
they're really, really expensive. And
Oh,
I'm not even talking about your books. I mean,
Oh no, I told because so I have a Zatanna cosplay cover, and I said, listen, the paper copy is gone, the hollow foil's gone, and it just worked out that I wasn't able to get the medals the same time as them. And I said, if you want this book, here it is. And I was like, I can tell you this one's good. If you ever find it anywhere else, you're gonna be paying like $200 for it or more. I don't know, but I'm putting it and that's literally like just kind of how I'm predicting it, but based off of how the paper and the hollow foils went, because people were fighting for those until they got into 3 digits. And so I'm like, here's a medal. I'm gonna start at $75. If I were to put it at retail, we'd start at 120. And because it was release night, I lowered it because we had a huge group of people in, let them all bid and get it where they feel they deserve the value for it is, which is great. I try to let them decide the value for it to give them some bidding room. So yeah, but like I can't imagine if one of those ever does come out into the universe, what that's going to go for.
Because what's also interesting is that you are brand new, and so I don't want to say you're a startup, but
No.
it's also really interesting because
I'm sure the watchers right now are who the fuck is Steve Streetman? Yeah, no, you're right. Keep going.
you're brand new, and that's what's interesting is that this is in which that you are at a starting.
Any of them who are Googling over on the side are literally finding me in spandex and not writing anything. Like literally, that's what's happening right now. And
I don't know anything about this. I'm a professional here.
So I have a background in pro wrestling. Okay, so that's why me and Greg Bo can shoot it because his son also is a pro wrestler. But I was with WWE. And anytime you go to find anything on the internet, that's typically what you find of me is I'm in some like small spandex and a luchador mask. And if you find that, or I've got long hair and a croquet mallet in my hand and a sweater vest on, with sleeveless sweater vest. And I'm hitting somebody with my croquet mallet. So those are typically the things you find when you Google me now, not, oh, this great comic book writer. No, that hasn't shown up on Google yet.
See, what's interesting is that you are at the start of your whole business and what you're doing, and you're brand new on the scene. And that's what makes this even more interesting is that there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of freedom when you create something. When I first started me doing this, and I've been doing this for almost 9 years, there's like a lot of freedom. Me saying, hey, look, I'm going to try everything and have a good time. And my evolution, it's 11 years. I started off doing written interviews.
Wow.
From some of the people. And then I said, let me just try to do a live interview. And oh man, the first 50, they were not pretty. Hey,
well, if 51 was good, then you beat Mr. Beast because he says it wasn't until 100 that they were actually good. So there you go.
I started to get really, really comfortable around episode 50 of my old show. And then COVID forced a change where I said, all these people are getting fucked over. And let me just help out some wrestlers. Let me help out some comic people. Let me help out some cosplayers. And I haven't looked back since. And my thoughts, and then I was very honest about this, is I thought COVID was going to be 2-3 months and business was going to be back to normal. And I was going to be back to pre-recording. I did not anticipate what was going to happen next. And turns out everybody needed interviews. And I came in at a really good time and haven't looked back since. But it's very interesting, but I don't think I would have been ready. But I got to interview some very cool people.
Yeah, but you went with it. I mean, that's a shout out to anybody who's out there, okay, like me, who's just getting started, but has had this big boom. You went at it at 11. You just went. You just said, all right, I'm going. And that's what, if you talk, so, hey, I've listened to Gary Vee. I've listened to Grant Cardone. I've listened to these guys, and they just said, just do it. and you're gonna learn along the way. Like that's the biggest thing whenever it comes to being like an entrepreneur. Like you can't learn everything before you start. You just have to start walking.
I have been in business in the eBay since I was 19. I'm 30 now.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
just become good and have just figured out my business effectively in the last 18 months.
Uh-huh. It's
Which,
My Little Ponies, which is what it is, right?
yeah, exactly.
That's
All the way. Apple Dash, right?
that's what you really are been trying to tell me. You're like, maybe your covers should not be girls, but hear me out, ponies. I'm just throwing out there. You can take it or send it right back, you know.
Don't worry, don't worry. As long as it doesn't get intercepted and it's an incomplete pass, we'll be fine.
Someone will intercept it. They're like, "Hey, look at my new pony covers." Someone watching right now, they just stole that.
But then again, I mean, shoot, I mean, what was it? The Eagles played the Bucks last night, I
Yeah.
think, or 2 nights ago,
Uh-huh.
and it was crazy. I don't know if you're a football fan. Jalen Hurts throws an interception. They're at the 1 yard line, and then they sack them in the end zone. It was like so he throws an interception. The other team gets it. They tack him down. It's like at the 1 yard line, and then they get a safety on him. And I'm like, really? So
That's
you
that's
just went through like four snaps. Basically, the other team got the ball and then they gave it back to the Eagles. It was
right.
insane with 2 points added to it. It was great. I made a bunch of money on the game, but not the point. Not the point.
You made money on that. See the investor over here, he's making all of his big money, and then it's going to sports betting. And look at that.
I'm not going to give anybody any advice. All I know is that there's a game on Sunday,
Okay.
and it's the Chiefs versus the Jets. And if you know anything about the Jets as of lately, it might be a good game to maybe put $5 on. As
$5. Y'all hear that? $5.
I think if you lost $5, people wouldn't be angry at me all that much on the Chiefs.
Yeah,
the Jets are horrific.
They're just comments horrific. Come in below on this one. They're like, "Damn you! That was McDonald's tomorrow."
Well, but if you win, you can get a number 7 and not a number 3.
Hey, you can get the double quarter pounder deluxe. That that's that they put a tomato on that one. So
it's just another day in my life. Should I get the number 3 or the number 6? I don't know.
This guy knows. I don't even know what those are. I don't even know.
It's from John Cena's album. Back
in the day. It is. Yes. You can't see me.
It's a great lyric.
I saw John Cena like 2 weeks ago. We were eating at the same restaurant together. So we actually worked together whenever I was in wrestling. And me being nobody currently, I wanted to be like, hey, we work together at OVW, but he would have been, I was opening match for you at Six Flags. I wanted to say that, but I was just like, we're both suited up at this nice restaurant. I'm just gonna let this one slide. It's just we just a little nod, just an acknowledgement of as two humans do, but no interaction. So
I've never met him. I've met plenty of wrestlers. I've had interactions with wrestlers, but he is the greatest. I do have a John Cena autograph comic.
Okay.
I stole that one for a really good price. And then
you stole it. Okay. Live we're hearing, it's like,
hey, I got it way below value. So what happened is that Tate's, I forget, Tate's or somebody else was having it up on bidding, and they had like 3 or 4 of them. And so I bid on the first one, and it went to 120. And then 3 minutes later, I bid on the second one, and I got the second one, and then I flipped the second one 3 months later. That paid for both of them.
Nice.
Because it sold the second one for $250 when I bought each of them for $120 a piece.
The number one flipper, what? There you go.
So it's a personal book, but it's relatively dirt cheap. I think it cost me $10 all said and done because of like fees and shipping. But to buy a graded John Cena autograph 9.8 signed comic book for $10, it's a no-brainer. He's the best. He's the best in the world, without a doubt.
Hell yeah.
But I getting back to what you do, because I think it's so interesting, because you are at the start of this company's birth. And it's interesting that you brought up Grant Cardone. Obviously, you brought up some other people, Gary Vee. I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. I really like
Yeah.
Tony Robbins
And
because
about 3 of his events. Yeah.
so like I read Awaken the Giant when I was 18.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, I mean, I've gone through something. So for those who don't know, I've gone through a massive business expansion in February. So I had a surgery on February 24th to fix my foot, and I come swinging out of my surgery, and I basically said, I'm going to be home from my job, able to work from home. This is the time to expand a business. And so I legitly pumped in a lot of money, all
Mhm.
debt free.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's no debt on my business. And I said, if I don't go for it now when opportunity's knocking, then when am I going to go for it? Now, I'm not saying I'm doing $1 million, but I went from doing like 20,000 to probably ending the year around 80 to 90 this year, which is
Okay.
big growth in sales.
Sure.
That's a big
Yeah,
growth.
most businesses are done in a year. 9 out of 10 are done in a year. You know, that's the nature of the business, and that's one of the things that I've seen too. With because we're really big in the whatnot space, live auctions, and the amount of people who are not there today that began with us back when we began, they're gone.
That's interesting. So I'm not on Whatnot. I'm not. I'm on eBay.
Yeah,
And I've been on eBay for 10 years,
yeah.
and I love eBay. I started off selling Lego minifigures for $2, and I worked all the way up to where I am, and it's working. It's working, and I have no
Yeah.
desire. I'm not opposed to going on to Whatnot. I'm not opposed to doing other things. But if something is working effectively and I'm thriving, why would I change?
Rewriting the wheel, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not dismissing
Kickstarter was a huge step for us too. We almost launched the issue number 1 directly on Whatnot, but we wanted to give an opportunity for a new audience to see us that wasn't on the Whatnot platform.
Let's actually talk about this because this is something that's interesting. I don't know if you noticed it, but I've noticed a lot of people in comics right now struggling. I've also noticed a lot of big people struggling, and
uh,
I get the sense, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I don't think people are as healthy economically as they say they are. I don't. I just get the sense that a lot of companies are struggling. A
so
lot of people.
so it's interesting that you bring that up because I don't know if I could name off some of these people. I don't mind, but
Mm,
there were some people I was watching in the beginning, and I was like, how are they doing this full time? And then like literally I would say it like that, but then I said, wait, how are they doing this full time? Let's figure it out. So that it kind of like it was the same question, but I kind of changed my thought process with it because like how are these people doing this full time? They're just selling comics every single day. Like how are they doing that? And then it was like, wait, how are they doing it? All right, let's figure out if it's possible. And just you and I, we love. I mean, I don't know how nice your spreadsheets look, but mine look pretty sexy. You talk about the interiors of my comic books. My spreadsheets are equally as nice because I love a good spreadsheet. So and with these too, like I can really like look at the data of everything that's going
my,
on to see
my
if it's possible.
business, my business is doing what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And then for what so I'm not full time in my eBay business. I don't have a book. As a side hustle, this is
Yeah.
a really fun side hustle. It's very lucrative. I have a day job.
But you're smoking your own stash though, because I know your PC collection's massive.
It's decent. It's decent, but it's slowly becoming less and less. I'm cutting it down a little bit. But
Like
I
if it wasn't for that, my margins would be better. But
no, but I do get the ability to buy and add certain things to my personal collection because when you get to know
you can do
people
that.
and you get connections, and all of a sudden you get opportunities that other people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the ability I have the ability to buy things at wholesale now that I didn't have 2 years ago.
Oh,
So
that's a secret that many people haven't even figured out that are uh, that
I
that
just asked.
that are in the space. But some people don't even think to ask. So I don't know if we're talking how much we're talking in the business side of things. That's something that people just aren't doing that are retailers.
it goes beyond that, in which that I also have relationships with people. So for instance,
That's
I interview a
huge.
lot of people.
It's
I interview a
huge.
lot of people. I know a lot of people. I was very fortunate that I've met a lot of people who've introduced me to other people. So
Huh?
I got to do a lot of cool interviews with people. Like I got to interview the Bushwhackers.
Ooh,
before one of them
okay.
passed away.
Yeah.
Because I met somebody who wrote their biography.
Oh, very nice. It's
So
just like that small little connection, that from
in
one to
which
the next.
that
Yeah.
it's weird who you meet, who leads to A, who leads to B, and then sometimes I'll just ask somebody and randomly, like I'm a big anime guy, I'm a big One Piece guy, I love Bon Clay,
Yeah.
and so I got to interview Barry Yandel, the voice actor, and I just
Uh-huh.
shot a message on Instagram, and I got to interview Brian Donovan, who plays Rock Lee from Naruto, just shot him a message,
And
but
they're
I
like,
also
cool, let's go.
I have credibility in this
Yeah.
space because I've been doing this for so long, and I've had people like Jeff Nimoy, who was co-writing a lot of the scripts for Digimon,
Uh-huh.
and Brian Donovan was on Digimon. All of a sudden, Dorothy Fawn was on Digimon. I interviewed her. I interviewed Kalino Shagnasi, who is Miles Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. Again, all of a sudden, when you then go reach out and say, "Hey, here's all the people that I've interviewed," but again, it goes back to business.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I can tell you that I just get the sense that a lot of people are not as healthy as they're letting people know.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed that a lot of people are struggling, both small and even big.
Are
And
you, I mean,
I mean
is that,
financially. I don't mean
I-
like right. I mean right
yeah,
is right.
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, it sucks for them. um,
So this is what I think it is though, is that I think a bunch of these people have become generic,
is that
right?
like what do you think it is that's so let's I'm putting on my interview. What do you think it is that's making them to where maybe they were successful at one point, but maybe they're not now?
So I think it's a few things. In my opinion, is that I think the economy has shifted, where there's a lot of concern
Okay.
with the economy, where people are saying, "Cool, what's going on? What does
Yeah.
it look like right now?" Also, I can tell you, I'm pulling a little bit back because I got to worry about Christmas this year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
once I get people's gifts figured
Yeah.
out, then I know my position because this is the
Hmm.
time. September and October is when I buy gifts, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm
True.
probably buying a little less comics because I want to make sure that I have my gifts covered, and then also I start prepping them for tax season now.
Yeah.
So so
So
so so.
who would now, are we talking like Marvel,
Oh,
DC, or are we talking
I'm not
like
worried about Marvel or DC. They don't.
like retailers that are selling those? Or
I
do you think it's people who are selling some of the other books?
I
Like
think
who do you see as that is more of a struggle in 2023 versus 2020 or 2017?
I
Like
think
what's
I think shops that you know I don't think Marvel and DC are struggling at all. I think people think they're struggling. I think they're
maybe
doing.
not them themselves, but I mean like the retailers that actually sell
I
their
think.
books,
I mean, obviously Frankie's that was detrimental. That,
right?
that was bad.
Right.
And I think also what's happening is that I think that retailers who are heavy dependent on variants just alone are struggling a little bit because I think that market has shifted because there's so many and
Well,
the
well,
competition.
that, so bring me in on this one, okay? Because you could probably spread some knowledge on it. I'm curious about it because you mentioned Frankie's, right?
Mhm.
A lot of these retailers go all in on like exclusives, okay? That's their bread and butter, and I can tell you from whenever I was selling other publishers comics as well, alongside mine, um, every publisher that I worked with was always pressuring me to do an exclusive. So is do you think that has anything to do with it? The pressure that the publishers are putting to do an exclusive, and all the retailers just think
So
that that's the go-to
I
solution
think
to make money?
I think what it is that I think that a publisher wants it because then you need a minimum order, and they know that they
It's a quick
haven't been
pop.
paying. And it's a quick that we could print 100 of these and we can run it at this price and we can make X amount of money. And then it just gets tacked onto their already printing bill. And then
Yeah.
what if they sign 10 exclusive people on? That's an extra 1,000 comics they need to print. And then they can go to their printer, negotiate a little bit, and then they could go make, instead of making 15%, I don't know what the percentage is. I've never done anything like this. I don't have exclusives at the moment.
Hmm.
But whatever it is, they could probably get it a better price collectively.
Hmm.
For Marvel, I know it's 3,000 and then
Right.
1,000 for a Virgin, I believe it is. I think DC might be similar or might be 3,000 and then 500, or it might be 1,000 and 500. I'm not exactly sure for DC's numbers,
Yeah,
but
you're eating ramen noodles after that, like
um,
3,000, like that's just a lot to take on without being a massive retailer because there's
it's a
so much
lot.
on the front end.
It's a lot where the, I mean, you got to figure out your artist, and also I don't even know if it's cost so much as it's an inventory problem and moving inventory. I don't think cost is the biggest problem in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but for me, I mean, I'll be honest. So Scout, I was looking at Scout. They want me to take on $250.
Mhm.
$250 can sink my business in a heartbeat. And, and,
Right.
and
Right. That's why I think like what 30,000 or 3,000. I mean, you've got to be looking at about 15K up front. I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know
think
the numbers on that. You might,
it's a little. I think it's a little less than that. I think it's actually,
but
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 three.
10,000 for a small retailer.
I
That's a
mean,
big chunk before you even see a dollar come back.
I don't even think it's so much the money. For me, if you have a store, right? Let's say you have a store that has 1,200 square footage, right?
Yeah. Well, you're
Yeah.
paying for the rent for starters. So
So
like
so 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 so,
anybody
so
who's a
how many? I mean, 10 long boxes is 3,000
mhm,
books. I mean, that's a lot of fucking retail
space,
space.
that's space.
That I don't know what 10 long boxes looks like on square footage. I should probably know this, but we then have to calculate. I mean, we want to get really technical. You have to say, cool, what does this store produce per square footage?
Uh-huh.
This is the only way this can be calculated if it's a good or bad investment.
Yeah.
Because if the square footage, if those 10 long boxes, what it can produce outflanks your square footage, then you should do it, or you should consider doing it. If it goes down where if you're doing $300 a square foot and those long boxes take up X amount and they're only going to produce $50 a square footage, that's a horrible use of square footage.
Do you want to come say
Horrible.
hey? Do you want to come say hey? Yeah, she come say hey. Come say hey.
Sorry, I get really technical.
Sorry for this. The interruption. The other creator is here. Do y'all want to say hello? She's way prettier than I am.
No, I'm not.
Just pop it like right here. Just pop it in. Pop it in. Here, surprise appearance. It's Ashley Streetman, everybody. No, you're not in. You're we can only see your boobs. All right. Yeah. She was trying to creep and I was like, no, I'm not letting that. I'm not letting that slide.
I get really technical, but like that's just how I view it. So
yeah.
that's my take. But
well,
like, yeah.
Yes. So I think I've been fortunate because I have a background in business, also have a background in writing, and I love art. And I kind of just put all the pieces together, and that's where the Flawless Universe came from. So for me, my entry to the business was completely different than everyone else's. So like this isn't my first business venture to take on either. So I've had lots of opportunities to see how marketing can work, to see how creating value can work. And so like that's where so yeah, it's Flawless Universe. We've done the preview and issue 1, and I'm honestly blown away at how well we're doing. Like it does
Because this is what I like about what you're doing is that I think those anime covers, I think doing some preview stuff, I think also doing some stuff, and we can just show some covers right now. So
please
a
do.
good example of
Please
this
get me free marketing. Hey, there we go.
I mean, this one right here, I think is One Piece, and this is the Kaido arc. I think she's from, or
yeah,
he's from, depending on how you want to look at it. I mean, it's up for interpretation.
Yeah, the Hot Piece collector's cover right here. It's Yamato.
And then you have this, which is Street Fighter.
Yep. Yeah. So, and this was Ashley's idea right here, by the way. Just throwing that one out there. I can't even take credit that I was like, hey, how about Cammy and Chun-Li in a shower? No, it was Ashley was like, that's that right there. That's what we need.
And then you get some Gurren Lagann right there.
This has been one of our biggest sellers right here. Yoko has been one of our biggest sellers. Been absolutely, and it looks beautiful. You should see the metal. Honestly, I'm even blown away by how the metal turned out. That one's coming out this week. So the metal, because we weren't. Another thing with a small business is understanding how to get all this out to everybody. We weren't able to get all the metals out the same time as the hollow foil. We weren't able to get all the hollow foils out the same time as the papers. Like,
isn't that interesting, right? So I just went through a pretty massive expansion, and I've learned a very valuable lesson about building infrastructure. And let's just say that I now have a better understanding of how to get things out, and it's still there are parts that need to be solved. But when you go from doing 20 slash to 25,000 to doing 90,000 in sales, that's a big different infrastructure than I'm used to.
yeah.
And as somebody who is doing this as a side hustle, it's like, what the fuck do I do now, right? And there's a lot of learning that occurs.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people aren't ready for growth in that nature. And I can tell you for a fact that I am not ready for growth in that nature, but it happened.
Yeah. Being a two-person hustle here, it's been helpful too. I mean, y'all just got to see Ashley come in here. If it was just me, I think it would have been way more difficult for us to really get this up and running. I always say, if it's something I don't want to do, I'm like, that's back end stuff. That's what you do. so it's like we're able to churn these things out together too, which is really helpful.
Even to talk about the Kickstarter, I mean, are you still finishing it up? And then, I mean, have you got to the packing stage of the Kickstarter? Because that's also a whole different piece, Chad.
So we're talking about issue 1, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So issue 1. This is one of the crazy things that I don't. That blows my mind, and I'm sure as we get bigger, we may run into similar issues. But I've seen people getting the Kickstarters out a year later, 18 months later, right? You're with me, right?
No. That's just the hard. That's just the normal stuff, right?
That can't be normal, or it shouldn't be the normal.
3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
No.
When let me ask you a question. We're going to play a game.
Okay,
Campaign
cool. I like it.
200,000. Will you get that campaign on time or 2 years later? Which one?
If you do what? If you do 200,000?
If a campaign does 200,000, will you get that campaign before the expected date or 2 years after the expected date?
Well, the person who puts the Kickstarter up should have the estimated idea.
I didn't ask that.
So their estimated date should be further out. I got to choose my estimated date.
No. The correct answer is that when a campaign does over $200,000, statistically, it will take 2 years from when their expected date is, which is insane. It is so problematic.
That's a lot.
It is, for whatever reason, more money creates more problems.
I think for me, and granted, like I didn't do 200,000 on my first Kickstarter, but I also don't have to sleep as much as everyone else. Okay, 4 hours, I'm good. Okay, so I can get 3 days worth of work in 1 day. Okay, so I understand what it takes. So we had 77 different covers on our Kickstarter.
Yeah, that was a little too much. You should have just dropped one.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all. Trust me. Wait till you see issue number 2. Wait till you see issue 2, and there's like 6 covers. You know, it's like
it was a joke. I'm sorry. It's just 77. It's a little.
It was my first time. Okay, you know, you remember your first time, right? Okay, sometimes it doesn't all turn out the way you want it.
Kickstarter, that thing was bad. It was painful. It wasn't even a comic.
I was referring to your sex, but okay, you tell me.
Oh, no.
Everybody knows their first time and everything is bad, right? Your first podcast, it was probably bad, okay? My first Kickstarter, I was like, so I just wanted to make sure, like, I gave as much as possible. So literally, I'm paying these artists for 6 months straight and before I even launched the Kickstarter, okay? So I had all these covers made. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, cool. You made me one. All right, here's another, here's some more money. You make one, and I just got like, I'm working on with all these different artists. And then we launch it, and then after it's finished, all right, well, guess who the editor is of the company? Okay, we can add that to the bottom of my piece right there too, because now I have to do the lettering on every single cover. I have to do the print count on every single cover. And then I've got to put together, the digital copy. I've got to send off the other piece to the print shop for the interiors as well. Like, I'm doing all of that myself. So I can understand, yes, why things would take longer, but it's part me and Ashley like really believe in good customer service. Our expectation was to have it out by November, and we're gonna have it out. We'll have it out October 6th. So
The reason when I'm going with this is that, unfortunately, apparently big celebrities and big companies don't know how to get things out. When somebody does
Yeah.
a $20,000 to $30,000 campaign, they're a month or two late. That's not really late.
yeah,
Those people know how to get things out, because a lot of the time people have another project coming down the pike and they want to get this thing done off their books. They want to get their comps, or they're printing another 1,500 copies and they want to bring it to cons and sell it.
right.
And so a lot of times, a lot of these people are doing books that do 2, 3, 400,000.
Well, we tested everything like for our stretch goals, and we did 11 by 17s, and we did medals. We tested how long it took to get in those random ass things before we did the Kickstarter, because then we were able to say, okay, if we order stickers, it takes 2 weeks to get here. Okay. So how early do we need it? We did t-shirts as well. We're like, all right, to get those, you get the designs made up and get those print. How long does that take? And we figured out all those numbers, and we have it all mapped out on my sexy spreadsheets. And so we knew, like, as soon as it ended, one, I don't know if you know, I'm sure you do. You did a Kickstarter, right? You did a Kickstarter yourself. You don't get paid when it ends.
See, it was funny because
You don't get paid until later.
you get paid 2, 3 weeks later.
Yeah. And so we're paying for everything out of pocket before even seeing that money too. We're taking that hit.
I waited until I got my money, but also I didn't need my money because I had sponsorship money because I did for this show. Oh man, people freaking hated me in comics. Oh boy, people got pissed off.
Hill turn, Andrew with the hill turn here.
Oh my god, it was great. It was great. I did fund. I made it past my goal. But people hated me because people were not ready for it, and people were not ready for supporting a show, buying ad space, buying the right to be interviewed versus cutting the line, where they didn't understand, saying, because the year before I did 160 interviews. And I said, look, I don't mind doing 160 interviews, but how do I know who to interview? And I turned out in my first and second year almost 180 people. Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't have any more room on my show. And so I said, I have to find a better solution. And people did not understand that it's not that I don't want to interview you, and I just don't have the room. I can't be interviewing every day. I have a job.
Yeah. And a side hustle, and this, you got
like if you want to be on this show, it's gonna be $10 to cut the line, and you're guaranteeing a spot. If you don't, you could still come on my show, but you might not make it. And people were not ready for that discussion. And I think people just did not understand, saying, wait a second, there's a rationale behind this. And I was also making an argument saying, look, you're paying for everything else in comics. Why are you not paying for media? And people, and fast forward, look, all these people in comics use bookers to get on interviews. All these people in comics use stuff. And then they say, I'm not paying for interviews. And I'm like, bullshit. You absolutely are. You just don't want to admit it, because the second you say I'm paying for an interview, every person
that's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. If you were paying to go on Jay Leno, people would be like, well, is he really a celebrity?
Where it comes down to, though, is that when a booker's getting paid, and then I find out booker's getting paid and I'm not, how am I supposed to? I feel disrespected, to be honest.
Sure.
I feel disrespected. And so if I find out you're using a booker, you get banned from my show.
I'm humbled, man. You reached out to me. So maybe it was the panels, maybe it was the silly descriptions that I put in the Kickstarter. Something popped your eye.
I do my things my way, and people could agree or disagree. Also, what I find is that if you're using a booker, 9 times out of 10, you're kind of an asshole. Like I'm not saying it's all the time, and there is positions where I'm like, oh, I get why you're using a booker to do something. But
So you're telling me not all of these interviews have been fun?
some of them have been horrible. Absolutely. Oh my.
No.
No.
Everyone
I don't
is
think you understand. I
is
don't
a
think you
rainbow.
understand. I've had interviews where I'm pulling teeth and I'm miserable and I'm absolutely miserable and I'm trying and I'm just like I feel defeated afterwards.
Maybe
And
that's whenever you switch over and you're like, hey, have you seen Hot Ones? Go to your kitchen. I'll go to mine. Let's. Well, that's not the right movement, but you know what I'm saying. Start squirting some hot sauce in the mouth, and then we'll ask some questions.
no, even when I do that, like if I come out swinging in an interview, I'm like, let's talk about your book. Your book is awesome, and it's about space and fox creatures and lasers. And the person is like pejorative, and I speak like this, and this is how the interview is going to go. And my book is very good. It's
So
about
I want data on the translation of is their book actually good if they don't have like the ability to have like a good conversation personality. Like does it ever translate to where like, all right, they were kind of like lame to talk to, but I guess they can write stuff.
I mean,
like,
sure.
does that okay, cool. I was just wondering. I mean, so
There's
not
people
to say it's the other way around for anyone who's watching, just because I'm good at talking to mean that mine's gonna suck. Okay.
Oh, I mean,
issue 2 coming out soon. Yeah.
No. My point though is that it's a problem where most people who use a booker, I find, are really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a correlation.
Touches them, definitely.
And I avoid it as the plague. And I'm not mean about it. I say, hey, look, I'm booked up. And especially because the booker also sometimes is an asshole to you, and that doesn't help their client.
Like, they want to.
I mean, I have no problem.
We want to get this guy on your show. What do you? We're gonna do it here in the next couple of weeks. What do you say? Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So
I assume they're smokers now. I don't know.
If you are a booker, the worst thing you can do is just hit me up randomly, not have a relationship, and try to sell me your client. Why don't you say, hey man, how's your day?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you need, if you have clients and you're a booker and you want your guests on my show, you need to build relationships with people. And like I have buy me a coffee.
That's why I love the comic book industry though. I literally, like, we haven't touched on this much, is you mentioned the relationships. Like, I fell in love with this business, man. I started going to comic conventions. Me and my wife dress up, by the way. So we do the cosplaying. She'll do Zatanna. I'll do Constantine. She'll be a cute monkey. I'll be a banana. Like, we're getting in some gear. and we meet tons of people, and that's been the best part about all this.
I'm so opposite. I haven't been to a con in 4 years.
You haven't done a con. You cut out at COVID.
So
COVID cutoff. This is terrible.
No. It's weird because I have more connections now than I've ever had because I interview so many people
virtually.
And because of that, this is how I got my whole bunch of wholesale deals, a bunch of other stuff, is because my business is actually gotten better since I've left cons. I am technically the only person, I think, in the whole industry right now, in any sense, who basically said, I don't want to go back to cons and I get every person I want access to because I interview so many people. I don't just do comic people. I do wrestlers, I do cosplayers, I do voice actors. I have I've interviewed porn stars. Yeah. I mean, I have friends all over, and I don't see the point in going back unless I want to go for fun. But for me, it's not like I don't need to go.
I don't understand why you didn't do this as like a 3-way show, with like getting or a 4-way, get a cosplayer, porn star, and me. I would have been okay with that. I could have taken a back seat for this. I would have been fine with it. But it's your show. I'm just throwing it out there. There's a next one.
No. I have a different show called Open Discussion, and we talk about real issues in comics, and that's a free for all.
You talk about different worlds to give their opinion.
we talk about real issues. So we talk about professional courtesy in comics with art and covers and sharing out. That was last episode. We spoke about the whole Fables issue and stuff in that nature. That was a fascinating one. We're going to talk about retail packages at some point. on that show with me and a bunch of people, because I think that's a real issue where a lot of people don't understand. We're going to talk about how to sell at a con. We're going to talk about do's and don'ts. I'm probably going to have fun with a bunch of male cosplayers because I am discriminatory, where I like to support male cosplayers more than female cosplayers because they need it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. They need the platform.
I think it's interesting.
I guess I didn't ask if the porn star was a guy or a girl. I mean, I would have shown up and be like, "Hey, what do we got? Oh, this is."
I have a lot of. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people. And I have good relationships.
I will have a good time. Whoever's with me, so it doesn't matter, you know. So
there is a porn star wrestler that I'm trying to get.
A porn star / wrestler.
Yeah, Shreds.
Is that their name?
Shreds, yeah. Shreds used to wrestle with the DJ-Z.
Okay. Hey, it's good to be to have more than one hobby, right?
Hey,
to have more than one stream of income, right? You know.
Shreds is a beast. I mean,
if you know anything about the wrestling world, it doesn't always it's not all rainbows in the beginning, you know. So if you're not in big time and you're sometimes not making the bucks you need, you know. I know a lot of the guys I was working with, they went and hustled down at the strip club on the weekend. So like, they were turning tricks for $1 bill. You know, they would do loot. They would freaking hurricanrana some granny for a couple bucks. You know, it's okay. You know, do you? So
it's interesting. It's the wrestling world is very complicated, and it's not so simple. It's not so simple, and I don't know if it's much better, because even if you are on the indies now, it's rough. It could be really rough.
Real rough. Yeah, real rough. Yeah, the Wrestler's no joke. The movie The Wrestler's no joke. Like
great movie. Great movie.
We put our bodies on the line, and some of them will do it until their death. Like they will literally just keep putting their body on the line over and over again. And I saw many of them, and I'd see them. You know, they had been in the business for years longer than me, and they just looked like they were just, in the ring. They're like, "Let's go," but then in the locker room, they're just like, they're just rubbing their leg with like this little roller and everything, just trying to not feel the pain, but they just have so much love for it. And it really is beautiful when you think about it, because how many different places do you see something like that? So I got a huge appreciation for them,
I really, really appreciate wrestling. I love it. Right now I've taken a break from the indies. I really enjoy WWE. I enjoy AEW when I get to catch it.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoy places like Beyond Wrestling. Action Wrestling is good. OVW is always good.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe you saw me once upon a time. Yeah.
It's been a while, but
I was pretty and young. No facial hair, long hair. Okay, so there you go. I will go on record to say that I had during my time frame, I got the most airtime of any other wrestler that was on the roster, but it was because I played 3 different characters. 2 of them were under a mask, and so they'd be like, "All right, Super Gloves is up next," and I'm like, as I just finished doing a promo as Ashley Stefan, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm changing. The producers are yelling for that. Get the fuck out there. What are you doing?" I'm like, hold on. And so there's one night I went out at, it was actually the reverse. I was Super Gloves and then had to go out as Ashley Stefan, and I couldn't get my wrestling boots off. So I had to put my khakis on top of my wrestling boots. And I was just like, okay, please, hopefully nobody notices this. So, yeah, they totally did. Because I've got I'd go out through the parking lot to go get in my car, and you'd say all the fans would be over here to the side, and then I hear this little he's probably a 5-year-old. He's like, "Super Gloves dose." I'm like, "Who are you yelling at?" I don't know some luchador. I'm Ashley Stefan Streetman,
so interesting.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was a rock star lifestyle.
I'm a fan, and obviously I like to think that I'm somewhat part of the industry on more of a media side, podcast side, because I do think it is a part of the industry if you're doing interviews with people.
Well, you're probably giving some of the younger guys a platform too.
I like giving the young guys. I actually really enjoy doing that more than the older guys. It's
Yeah, if
fun.
something like this would have existed back then, like this could have been completely different for me. I hung out at OVW for too long, and it was just like a party place. Like we'd work out, we would wrestle, and then we would go to the club, and it was like I was like, this is too much, and literally, I had too much power too, because for to be such a small character on the show, anywhere I'd show up, I get free meals, free drinks. Like I got to hang out in the DJ booth just because I was one of the OVW stars, And I'm like, I shouldn't be getting all this. This is as it makes sense, and I definitely like abused it, and I was like, I should not go out every
Hey,
night.
hey, look, I'll be honest. I get certain privileges in certain areas and certain things, and I'll be honest, and I take every advantage I can get. And
Yeah, yeah,
I got no problem taking every advantage that I get in life because I also get a bunch of disadvantages. And I
right,
realize
right,
that life isn't fair. And when
yeah,
somebody gives you an advantage, you run with it and you hope for the best. It's because I can buy wholesale like comics, I can sell things cheaper, or I could have better margins, and that's an advantage that somebody else
right.
who's selling that book might not have.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. That no, definitely, that's great. A free bottle of Jaeger and a wank, though, that's something else. I was like, oh my gosh, this is.
Hey, look, every once in a while, I get a free beer at my bar that I go to, and I'm happy to take it. I'm happy
I
to.
thought you were gonna say you're getting the other one. I was like, hey, good for you.
Hey, if that happens too,
It does have you do have the porn stars that you interview from time to time, so
you know
they
what is
they
you
get
never
on the
know.
show for free. Okay.
There are people that can't pull what I pull off. So that's all I'm gonna say. Not that hard, guys. It's not that hard.
Hey,
Um,
hey, Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirtles, okay? So, that's all I gotta say to that. Right? He's
it's
coming.
not that hard. It's all about the approach. It's all about
And now, welcome back to the Pickup Artist, where we go over all the best ways. So,
let's play the replay.
and then you're gonna neg her. After that, she's gonna be a little irritated, but also interested. From that point, you're gonna pull her to the side. You pull her away from the back.
The best thing I've ever said to pick up a girl is me and my friend. We were just going to our local bar back when I lived in Westchester, New York, because I'm in Connecticut. And what
Okay.
happened is that this girl, she's cute. My friend went to the bathroom. I went to go. I order a Bud Light. I know, dirty word, guys. I understand. This was a different
This was a
time.
different time, y'all. Trust me, my voice just got deeper as I continue to tell you the story. Okay.
So I go. I say, hey, what's up to her? She's not interested in me. My friend Eric comes, and then I point to Eric, and then I go back to her. So yeah, my friend's fighting Brock Lesnar tomorrow night.
Yeah, and
And
that
then
was that was the line.
that was the line. That was the line. And it completely defused her. And then for the next like 4.5 hours, we were just talking, and it was great. And then she went to the bathroom with her girlfriend, and then like she pushed away her guy friend away, and I saw it, and I called it, and you could tell that he was sort of interested in her, and that she had no interest in him.
Right,
And then,
right.
it was great.
You can read the signals. Sometimes they can't when they're in that position, unfortunately.
And I was calling it to my friend. I said, she's with her girlfriend in the bathroom right now talking about me, and she's gonna come back and she's gonna be all friendly and sweet, and she's gonna get a little close now. And it was great. The whole night I was just
And you
calling
called it. You called like it's like Babe
every
Ruth. You're like,
single
this
position.
is what's happening next. Watch.
And
You're like Barney Stinson this situation here.
my friend was like, how did you call that? And I'm like, I just saw it a mile out. I knew from the moment I dropped that line that she was either going to be receptive to everything, or she was going to be cold, and it was going to go one way or the other. I didn't care. That was the whole point. I wasn't gonna
That is always the point. It's like it's when you're just there, you're having a good time. It's not about like, oh, I've got to land this.
I didn't give a damn. And obviously, as the night went on, I started to care a little bit more because obviously she was cute. And then
If the bar scene in issue 3 now has the guy say, "Hey, my friend's facing Brock Lesnar tomorrow night," I didn't steal this from this podcast. I'm just throwing that
you
out
could
there.
take it.
I already had that in the book. Like
Anybody can take my line if they want to use it. Be my guest. It was almost as good as the time I picked up a girl using, Ender's Game. That was a different discussion completely.
The movie. You went with Ender's Game, the movie.
The novel.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. I mean, books. Get them with the books, man.
Yeah. So I do want to show this one though.
There we go. That's from issue 1. Yeah, that funded. So there it is. That's Dee Dee Loon who did that art. That's My Dress Up Amber right there. So
There you go.
and there is a reverse version to that where you get Marin, in the blonde as well, which you'll see that eventually. So
obviously we've been speaking for a while. I think we covered a lot of stuff. I don't know exactly what we covered.
I
We covered a lot.
were we supposed to be talking about something specific?
No, we were just supposed to be speaking about you and everything in the Flawless universe because you got a lot of stuff coming. And
oh, did we talk about that today? That's good. That's good. We put that in there somewhere. We'll cut out the other bits.
There is no editing on this show. but we've been speaking for a while and we covered a lot of stuff. But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So where can people find you, bother you, hit you up, check out what you're doing, buy your stuff, catch some medals, whatnot, all that fun stuff?
Find me in the local bathroom stall, okay? At your nearest bar, just come there, just pop in. We can, no, don't do that. You can find me. I don't know. I'm slowly getting to be all over the place. You can find me at cons dressed as a banana. You can find me on stupidlittlemonkey.com. Stupid Little Monkey, for the first time in this time, it, just so you know, is my primary brand. So whenever you find Stupid Little Monkey, you find Steve Streetman typically. Okay. So that's where you'll find pretty much everything from the website to, whatnot, to my Instagram, Stupid Little Monkey. That's where it is. So we're on Whatnot. We're live a lot on Whatnot, and we're just shooting the shit. Usually it's me and Ashley on there, and we're showing off really cool comic books at the same time. So it's kind of a dual process to where we're hanging out, we're chatting with the audience, we're chatting with each other, and we're talking about the book. So it's a lot of fun over there on Whatnot. If y'all enjoyed maybe a sliver of this, maybe you'd enjoy listening to me over there. And we have the issue number 2 of the Flawless Universe coming on November 6th. Okay, so be looking for that on Kickstarter. That is in production right now. We wanted to make sure to get our issue 1 books out first. We're trying to live up to that with every issue. And so we've got issue 2 coming up at the beginning of November. So it's going to be the story of the Duchess, Rachel Vanderbilt, this wealthy girl. So just to give you I'll give you a little comparison real quick. Issue 1, it's about a girl who has a bad life and then gets these superpowers. And then the Duchess is about a girl who has a great life and then gets these superpowers. And you kind of get to see a different dynamic. They both receive the powers on the same night, but they get completely different outcomes. And so that's what you're getting from issue 1 to issue 2. So that's my story. Then the bathroom stall is an option too. So
yeah, no, I have been saying it. I'm going to keep saying it. You have to support indie. And what that means is that when people have books on Kickstarter, you have to go out and back those campaigns. And then furthermore, you need to share out those campaigns. Obviously, follow people on social media is a big thing. And then even when their campaign is over, if they're at a con or they have a web store or they have something else, supporting them there also is very, very, very helpful in that regard as well. And it goes a long way. It goes a long way, whether you're buying a $5 book, a $10 book, a $20 book, or a $100 book. It is a huge deal to support people, and it actually is what makes comics work. So that's something to keep in everybody's gets back of their head and everything else. And then as far as I'm concerned about what I do, obviously I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter /X, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on YouTube. Please subscribe. I appreciate when people subscribe on YouTube. It is absolutely free. I have almost like 1,200 videos of content. You will never ever run out of content, and I am constantly adding more. I am gearing up to add probably about 30 a week for the remainder of 2023, and then going into 2024, we're probably going to do 25 to 30 a week of content, of micro content, shorts, old interviews, new interviews, all sorts of stuff. I'm usually live on Tuesdays and Wednesdays doing interview work, and you never know who's coming on my show. I got a pretty big 2 interviews next week. One of them is Bella Madison, and she fights for LFC. So very cool individual. We're going to have a really good time talking about a lot of stuff. And if you saw the first interview with her, it was a lot of fun. So that's something to keep in the back of your head. And then on top of that, I have an eBay store where I sell a lot of books. And I have some Shikaris that are sold out from Comics Elite in my store right now. And I just sold out of the nude version of one of those books today.
You had a nude? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. And
you had a nude.
The topless Princess Leia, guys.
Oh,
so
topless Princess Leia.
So okay. I just sold out of that. So I actually don't have those in my store anymore because somebody bought those books. And 3 different people got them. But I do have the close-ups and I do have the fully clothed version of her. And they are a pain in the ass to find right now. So that's something to keep in the back of
I can concur.
I don't know. Do you have one?
I don't have that one. No, but I collect Shikari covers, so I do know what it is like trying to get your hands on them. So
some of them are easier than others.
So then I guess everybody needs to make sure they're keeping an eye on his eBay account. So when the next Shikari shows up.
Yeah, I carry very, very few Shikaris. I like Shikari. I like what Shikari does. But again, this is like the book, and I will.
And another plug for me, Shikari hangs out on our whatnot. Just throwing that out there. He'll come to our shows and he watches us. Just throwing that out there. He comes and watches us. He chimes in the comments. He's a fun guy. We talked about Smash Mouth last show that he was in for. So, but we don't always have his books. Hopefully one day we can get him for a cover. But until then, he'll come kick it with us.
That's everything that I got. And then I'm going to give you
the Shikari books. You go to that guy. Oh, which way? This guy over there.
Yeah, I got a bunch of Shikaris, guys. I got a bunch of Shikaris. So if you're looking for them, I got you covered. But anyway, enough about me. And that's all I got. So I will give you the final word.
Cool. Hey, thanks for having me. You and the Judgmental Cheetah. It's just been phenomenal having the 2 of you here looking at me, looking upon me for this evening. I feel blessed. I think the cheetah looks a little less disturbed now than versus we took him out of he was like, let me lower the cheetah. He's like, yeah, he looks like he's got a bit of a grin now, so I feel like I passed the test, so thank you.
Well, I don't think I could have said that any more cheating of a way. So on that note, that is a wrap, everybody.